Well then guys, there you go. We have the introduction to Link summoning being introduced in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Yeah, it was okay. Pretty easy to understand. If you haven't watched my Idiot's Guide on Link summoning, then this is the perfect opportunity to plug that show. You can go learn all about Link summoning there. But in this episode, I think they pretty much summed it up. He got 3 monsters. He even said that what his monster required was 3 effect monsters or 2 or more. He used his 3, I think he did. And with those 3, they were to become the points. I kind of like the summoning sequence that they did, where you sort of had the border that you have now on Link monsters, and the monsters went for those triangle things to create the monster, and then Decode Talker appeared. We got to see his effects. They will probably do that quite a bit, where they have to pan to the actual field for you to understand it. I was kind of hoping that they did it in a more artistic way. Maybe the field is now visible when everybody plays duels, and you can actually see the physical links appearing. Maybe they did in the episode and I just didn't notice it, but when they did the whole, they pan to the actual card thing on the screen, you can see the links going like that. I don't think it's as strong. Maybe they could have like a thing floating around the monster which shows which way the links are going. Yeah, that was anything I didn't like about the Link monster. I felt like they could have done a little bit more effort with that. Overall, though, I was happy with the episode. I did notice that a little tiny bit of animation quality was dropped in this episode. Specifically, kind of still shots, and I can't remember what the rival's name was in this episode, but whoever he was playing against, there was a lot of shots of him when he was on that duel board kind of thing, kind of standing. He kept doing this, and that was like a little tiny bit of animation quality bad, really, in comparison to Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, which I thought had a pretty consistent animation quality. Speaking of animation, we have the introduction now to speed duels, and I'm gonna say this now, I actually like the speed duel mechanic. It's basically just Duel Links, which, if you haven't played it, it's the mobile game. So you just get free, you can have some free monsters, you can use free spell and trap cards, you start with 4 cards. It's basically, it's called a speed duel, because it's just a short duel, and they do it on the surfboard things. So that bit I'm all fine about. It was just the animation quality didn't make it look epic. I mean, action duels were quite fun because it kept the duel moving around and things like that. But this is kind of going back to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds where they're on the bike and it's just the moving background. And I feel like they could have done a little bit more effort with this. Maybe having them like avoid obstacles, which they did. They had to avoid out the way of some stuff. But it just seemed a bit plain just when they're going across and it's just the same buildings going around in the background. So that was just one little criticism, is just the animation quality in this episode, and I hope they step it up in further episodes, which I'm sure they will. We got a tiny little bit of backstory on Playmaker, where he says, I think this is his thing now, where he goes, I've got 3 things that I want to say, or whatever it was. But he said that in the first episode, when he was talking about the 3 reasons why I don't need you to teach me about dueling, and then 3 reasons why I actually quite like you as a person. And this one, he's got 3 reasons why he has to win this duel. And he says that the first reason, I did write it down somewhere. First reason was he wants to take back the time that was stolen from him. So, of course, this is probably something to do with, like, maybe missing family or things like that. But we see him being rescued by, I assume, the fire department or something like that, but as a child. So something obviously has happened in the past, which we already knew that in the first episode, but it's just further explaining what could have happened to him. His second reason was he wants to save Kusanagi's brother, which is not his father, which I thought it was in the first episode. My bad. It's just his friend. As well as he wants to meet the one that gave him courage, which, if it's not his the main antagonist in this series, which is the red-haired guy with a mask, I will be shocked. I'll be completely surprised if it's not him. So that gives a bit of intrigue to the series and kind of what the goals we have now. Of course, we want to see the Knights of Hanoi be defeated and VRAINS system saved, but we've also got this sort of personal story we're following with Yusaku, which also gives him motivation towards the goals that he's trying to achieve. So yeah, you can kind of see why the things he's doing, why he's doing them. Now, there was some other stuff we did actually learn in this episode as well. So yes, if you die in the game, you can die in real life, but not exactly. So let's say you get hit in the VRAINS world, then what happens is you take the damage, but it doesn't affect you. But all the damage you take, once you come out of VRAINS, your mind takes all the like equivalent damage kind of thing. It was described by Ignis as called a flashback. So yeah, you accumulate all this damage, and then once you come out, you get a flashback kind of attack. And if it's enough, can kill you. So yeah, weird. The only thing I was a little bit confused about, why would this be implemented in something like this if people are playing it all the time and they have a possibility of dying? Is this just unique to, you know, the Knights of Hanoi or something battling? I don't know, I'm just confused. So something else about the speed duels, which you're either going to like or you're not going to like. If you were a fan of action cards, then you'll like this. But if you were in the majority that didn't like action cards and thought they were just kind of ass-pull kind of cards where people would just spam them, they got a little bit annoying in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, they're sort of back, but in a different way. First of all, they've realised the mistake, Konami, and they're like, alright, let's not have so many action cards where you can just pull out whatever. You're only allowed one per duel. And that's like, okay. And it said that it was limited to the abilities of gaining life points, increasing a monster's attack, and I think there was one more. And then the Knights of Hanoi have hacked it so they can draw 2 cards. But there is also another one, a secret one, if you will, where if a data storm is occurring, if you fly into the data storm, you can activate. I can't remember what the ability's name was, but you can actually get a random link monster, I think it was, at complete random. So yeah, he does that and he gets Decode Talker, and that's how he's able to win the duel. So people are a bit worried that that might become the new like Destiny Draw or Shining Draw, whatever it is. So whenever someone really needs a card, they just go into that and they can get one. But they say it's at random, so we'll have to see. Curious guys, what did you think of the skills being introduced in this series? Like them or don't like them? So in the last episode, I was a little bit annoyed that the main female protagonist, the first thing that happens to her is she has to get rescued by Yusaku, but they sort of redeem her in this episode where she hooks Yusaku as he's falling to the ground and like saves him with a whip thing, and she's like, alright, we're even now, I've sorted out my debt. So that was kind of good redemption for the character. I'm quite glad of that. I wouldn't mind if it was like a thing that happened throughout the series where they just keep saving each other over and over again. But no, I still want to learn more about those 2 other characters, what they're like in the real world specifically. But we also got to see the introduction of the Cyberse monsters. Or is it the Cyverse? Because the subtitles said one thing, and what I saw on screen said another, and what Yusaku said was another thing as well. Is it Cyberse with a B, or is it Cyverse with a V? You'll have to let me know. It makes more sense with the Cyverse, right, because of the VRAINS. But yeah, I like the archetype, to be fair. It was pretty damn cool. I kind of like the whole, you got like spellcasters and warriors and things like that, but with like a data theme going out of them. And the effects, of course, were very powerful that we had. We had a monster that could switch a monster into defense, and all monsters on the field can inflict piercing damage. Yeah, I like the cards. And as well, the rival that we were fighting against in this episode, I liked his main dragon, Crackling Dragon. Cool name, I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of these data-related cards. But everyone was really shocked that he was playing a Cyverse deck. They're like, how could he have these cards if he's not in the Cyverse? They were meant to be exclusive for that. So, curious how he's got that. That would be something probably revealed in his past. But yeah, and it was a bit weird. Obviously, Link monsters aren't like Pendulum monsters. People are aware of Link monsters. Link monsters exist in this world, even though this is the first time we've seen them be used. But it was just weird seeing the guy who was facing. He was like, oh yes, the monsters don't have levels, do they? It won't be switched to defense because it can't. It's just that whole like first episode syndrome when they got to over-explain everything. But yeah. Now I did want to talk about Yusaku and Ignis as characters. First of all, Ignis, he seems to be quite okay at the moment. He tries to help out Yusaku because they're kind of bound together now. So he also calls him Sama out of respect, but I think it's just kind of sarcasm because he's trapped there. But he just tries to help him. He tells him when there's like a wall in front of him, and he says that I know some tips. I can give some tips if you want it. But this is where I kind of get the problem with Yusaku now. In the first episode, it was established that Yusaku is a loner. Doesn't really like talking to people too much, but he is a nice character. And he seemed like quite level-headed, where he was able to talk to that guy, and even though he didn't want to listen to him, he talked to him anyway. But in this episode, Ignis is trying to tell him how to do stuff. Like, you should listen to my advice. And he's like, shut up, I know what I'm doing. You don't need to tell me anything. And I just thought that kind of changed his personality to what I thought it was. But yeah, let me know what you think of Yusaku's personality so far. Do you think he's a little bit arrogant, or do you think he's still quite chill? And the last thing that I wanted to mention is, I actually watched a video the other day of top 10 memes in Yu-Gi-Oh! There was a couple of them I already knew, which were like, I activate my trap card, that meme, most of the Team 4-star ones and things like that. But I didn't actually know but you still take the battle damage was a meme. So now when I watch this episode, and he doesn't destroy the monster, but he says, but you still take the battle damage, I was like, oh, it's a meme, I never knew that. So that's gonna be fun now, noticing that every single time. We should have like a counter. Should we? Should we have a counter right here saying you still take the battle damage? We'll put it right here. There you go. If I remember that every single week, I'll put it right there. You take the damage counter. Anyway, guys, want to know what you think of this episode in the comments section below. What do you think of Playmaker as a character? What do you think of his deck so far? What do you think of Speed Duels? And what do you think of Link Monsters? Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.